Welcome to our 10th episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I'm Danny Ko.
And I'm Tessa. Thank you for joining us on our episode number 9. Including episode 0, we've done 10 episodes already. How do we celebrate, Danny?
Well, I've been celebrating by gaining a pound per episode. So I'm 10 pounds heavier now than the beginning of the year. Maybe that's a wrong form of celebration.
Well, I celebrated by going to my racetrack holiday this past weekend, and we will have the DMV Autocross Podcast track review at the end of this episode after the Novice meeting, so stick around. But for now, here is what is up in the next 2 weeks for DMV Autocrossing.
Yeah. For our second week in a row, not too much autocross action in the DMV area. Saturday's track cross at Summit Point is nearly sold out. And the WDCR Autocross Level 2 school is also at capacity. No action on Sunday either. If we expand the searches to 200 miles of DMV, you can find autocrosses at the SCCA Central Pennsylvania region for both Saturday and Sunday. And VMSC is holding Sunday autocross at Virginia Motorsports Park, west of Petersburg, Virginia. Ada?
Next Saturday, however, we are jam-packed with autocross events. BMW's event is on the Washington Circuit at Summit Point. Registration closes Tuesday, and spots are available at time of recording. Mercedes Club event is on the Potomac pad and looks like it's sold out. PCA Chesapeake's event is at the Prince George's Stadium in Bowie, and registration closes next Thursday. Chesapeake's registration list is not open to the public, but please register if you'd like to participate. Next Saturday is the No Excuses Day for DMV autocrosses, with all the events available. But we are autocrossers. We will somehow find an excuse.
That's right. Next Sunday is the PCA Potomac's second event on the Washington Circuit. Look at the registration. There are a few spaces available, so register soon. Autocross season is in full swing this week. And if you're willing to drive a couple hundred miles, there are autocross events everywhere. Hope you're having some racing fun.
This concludes what is coming up in the next 2 weeks in DMV autocrossing.
All right. So there has been a disturbing trend developing in our own weather forecaster. Yeah. Even though he successfully predicted weather forecasts for our A listeners, we notice every event he attended himself, he brings torrential rains. From Charlotte to Waldorf to this past weekend in Atlanta and Birmingham, Alabama. Everybody with him got a good soaking. He even brought 1 to 2 hail and twisters from the Midwest, trying to chase us from Alabama to Maryland. Well, here he is to explain for himself, our own hydrologist, Alan Claffey.
He's a meteorologist, Danny.
Hey guys, it's the weather time again with your good buddy Alan. He is currently unpacking after a top 3 performance at Danny Ko's mini one lap. We won't say that there were only 3 of us actually competing, but a top 3 is still pretty impressive, especially in the slowest car of the bunch by a significant factor. But enough about last week. Let's go back to the weather terrace here at beautiful Parsimonious Racing HQ, where once again I have to cut the grass. Not up front. I did that this morning when I was barely awake. But this afternoon, we got some grass to cut. So, about the weather. Last time out, I was probably batting about 500. I said we were going to get morning drizzle at WDCR. It turned into afternoon rain. I flushed the mouse on that one. These things happen. I did better for the New Jersey Pro. I said it was going to rain all day Sunday, and it didn't. So, wait. That doesn't make me look good at all. So on that happy note, we have a cheat sheet for next week and the week after. Saturday, we are at Summit Point. We have the WDCR Level 2 school. If you want to learn, variable weather conditions are good. And that might be what we get. It says 64 with afternoon showers. Imagine learning all morning how to go fast, and then the afternoon shows up and the rain happens. You stop going fast, but you learn, and that's important. I don't have anything on my schedule for Sunday, so I'm not going to give you a forecast for that day. We're going to look ahead to the next weekend, Saturday the 18th. Looks like Summit is hosting both Mercedes and BMW clubs, and that looks like 75 degrees with afternoon rain. place your bets on where that actually happens. I have a pretty bad track record predicting partial rainy days. Also happening Saturday, PCA Chesapeake's at the Bowie Bay Sox Stadium. That looks better than Summit with 75 degrees again, but doesn't seem to have any rain in that forecast. So clouds and sun, I would take that in a heartbeat. Sunday, what's happening Sunday? The wind is messing with my cheat sheet. PCA Potomac is at Summit Point, 75 degrees and partial sunshine. No rain in that forecast, which means I'm probably going to be wrong. So I would say take that with a grain of salt, but definitely take advantage of it. Get out there, have fun with your car, learn a thing or two, have some fun with your friends, and maybe next week you can come back and tell me how terrible my forecast was. I'm willing to live with that. On that happy note, back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Alan. I want to add, while Alan was getting soaked on Road Atlanta, Danny, myself, and my wife Sarah were having an all-you-can-eat drink fest from the world of Coca-Cola. Drinks were delicious. The floor was very sticky. Carrying on, 2 Saturdays ago was the first WDCR event at Waldorf. And of course, Alan brought rain to the event. Dry run cheater specialist Marcus Pine scored another FTD and top packs because once again, he ran in the dry while everyone else ran in the rain. Now, we are not sure if he is Max Verstappen or his weather game is good.
Weather game is good.
Here are the top 10 packs of the event. Marcus Pine, Matt Huffman, Jack Chrissy, Stephen Holzer, Dustin Grubbs, Dean Mohit, Clyde Kaplan, Greg Pollock, Mark Canacarante, and Patrick Gaffney.
I want to add that if you go to the world of Coca-Cola, try the sour plum soda from China, right? Even though some people says that it tastes like barbecue, it actually tastes like a traditional sour plum drink with some fizz in there. So if you're Asian, you probably like that stuff. I
mean, I liked it, and I'm not even Asian.
Didn't you like the Ethiopian?
I did end up, so I did end up liking the one drink from Africa, and you like the one Chinese drink. But besides that, like it was all the drinks were good. Okay, let's not.
Well, what about that? What was that thing? The cucumber Sprite?
Yes, there was a cucumber Sprite, and there was also some kind of fruity drink from like Zimbabwe that was amazing. I was losing my mind.
Yeah, please don't stereotype. It's just by coincidence.
Yeah, right. We love all the drinks.
I didn't like anything from Korea.
Okay, can we move on, please?
Okay, I'm moving on. All right. Okay, I participated on the PCA Potomac event #1 on last Sunday. In typical PCA Potomac fashion, we got breakfast and lunch. I even had delicious baklava before 9 a.m. But in non-typical PCA Potomac fashion, we got an end-of-the-year autocross test course by Jeff Braun at the first event. This confused the young ones, but didn't fool the old Wile E. Coyote autocross veterans. In fact, the older you are, the faster you win. The top 3 times went to Danny K, Howard L, and Patrick G with a combined age of 200. The next 3 were too young to mention. I'm quoting a Simply Red song back in the 90s, which you don't know that, Adam, either.
Yeah, I don't know that. Okay. So you're like old school references. You need to like give me an asterisk because I don't even know that they're references.
Yes, I'm holding back the tears right now.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. No local autocrosses to report this past weekend. However, WDCR sent 28 local SCCA autocrossers to the New Jersey Pro Solo at MetLife Stadium, and they brought back 11 trophies home. The biggest battle was between Sam Strano, Brian Carwin, Kevin Henry, Clyde Kaplan, Lee Pacone, Steve Salisbury, and Bill Stock in F Street. Sam, Brian, and Kevin finished 1, 2, and 4. And Patrick Gaffney finished 3rd in Super Street. Jack Chrissy finished 2nd in C Street. Oh, yeah.
Can you mention Brian Carwin's name again?
Yeah, Brian Carwin.
Okay, go ahead.
What just happened?
I just gave him the sign.
Oh,
losing to Sam Strano.
Wow! Oh my Lord! This is a helpful and informative podcast. We would never make fun of anyone on this podcast.
I'm sorry, only Brian. He knows that already.
Oh my God! Anyways, back to the people that didn't lose. Jack Chrissy finished 2nd in C Street. That's amazing. Marcus Pine, Trevor Blackwell, and Greg Pollock finished 2, 3, and 4 and trophied an STR. Danny.
All right. As you can see, I'm very, very loopy and tired and sleepy because
We're so tired.
Because I drove 13 hours to come home from Birmingham, and within an hour and a half, I have to write the script and record. Just for you guys.
Just thank you, Danny.
All right. So anyway, so Cody Hunt. So all of this stuff will be wacky. Cody Hunt finished third in STX. Since Patrick Gaffney also finished third, I guess they're equally slow. All right, this is the loopy version of the DMV Autocross podcast.
I'm so tired.
The looping continues. John Vinavas finished fourth in S1. And since we're now including beautiful autocrossers like John V, so now we're also claiming Aaron Shu, who finished fourth in S4 as one of our own, even though he lives in Delaware.
Yes,
so
close enough.
Unfortunately, we have to balance out with some ugly ones. So with that said, Josh Lester finished second in S4.
Wow.
Ada?
No, that's just... Okay, back to beautiful people. Big Mike Snyder finished second in R2. And we are also claiming Shelly Monfort as one of our own, who won L2. And beautiful Jen Fox took the win in L3. This concludes our event results of the last 2 weeks. Next segment, please.
Next segment.
In our Feature of the Week segment, we highlight interesting topics and interview key figures in the DMV autocross community. Today, we have this special guest who is not only an accomplished autocrosser, but also a local celebrity. When she's not racing with us, she's flying around the DMV in the NBC4 helicopter or gracing the airwaves of some of the biggest radio stations around. We are honored to have our friend and the voice of the National PCA podcast, Tessa Hall, with us today. Welcome, Tessa.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Tessa. Thank you, Tessa, for joining.
I'm watching you.
Thank you, Tessa, for joining us. You were one of the top 3 people we wanted to invite in our Feature of the Week segment when we first started this podcast. We're still learning and growing, but we're really excited to have you here. And for our listeners who might not attend PCA Potomac events, could you give everyone an official introduction? And who's Tessa Hall?
Absolutely. I had no idea that I wanted to do any of this driving stuff. In 2017, that changed because I met somebody at the radio station who had a 2013 Boxster S. And he knew I liked cars. He said, hey, one time, just let me know. We'll go out on the weekend. I'll let you drive my car. I said, okay. 5 minutes into that drive, I'm like, yeah, I need one of these. And I would have had a Porsche that Sunday, but I couldn't find anything in my price range in this area. So Monday, I drove up to New York and I got my first Porsche, which was a 2006 997 base cab. Wow. And then I thought, this is the most expensive car that I've ever bought. I need to make sure that at least I got a good deal I just didn't want to get ripped off. And I mentioned it to somebody else at the radio station. He says, I know the perfect person you should talk to. And that was Gary Baker. And it turned out he was just a mile up the road from the radio station. So the car was delivered on a Friday. An hour and a half later, I'm in front of his office going, did I get a good deal? And he was the one who actually told me about autocross. I didn't know anything about Porsche Club. I didn't know anything about the driving, none of that. And I showed up to the first autocross and I thought, I'm going to be horrible at this. But I tried. And I think I ended up like second or third that time. It was actually during Porsche Fest in 2017. And then I realized that I had horrible tires and things got better from there.
Wow.
Great. Okay, so you started leading into it just now. Mm-hmm. And the next question we had was, could you share with us how you started autocrossing and what led you to become one of the best instructors in both autocrossing and HPDE with PCA Potomac?
One of the things I always focused on was control. It seemed like everyone else was like, I got to be fast. I got to be beating everybody else. It's like, I just want to be in control. I don't want to be fast and not know what the car is going to do. And I ended up doing a whole bunch of the skid pad sessions at the HPDEs because I would get completely overwhelmed with doing the track events because it is a lot, especially in the beginning. I didn't know flags. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I was like, if I didn't feel at least 90%, I'm not going on track. But I will go down to skid pad. And since everyone else is out on the track trying to be a speed demon, I'm just going in circles, learning control. Mm. And that really kind of gave me the seat feel to help people for both autocross and on the track. Because it's so frustrating when you first start out and people say, oh, it's just seat time. Like, stop telling me that. But it is just seat time. So I can tell just by the feel of the car what's going to be going on.
Well, that's probably one of the most important things, which is something that I'm terribly at, which is at the skid pad.
No, you're not. You keep trying to save it. That's the thing. Like, you don't want to hang it out. You want to bring it back. And that was what I first did too. You have to overcome that.
Yeah, well, so, unfortunately, that would be my only accident ever on track, crashing the skip pad.
Does Atta know about that?
I think I didn't know. No, that's actually only you guys know. That's a low point.
Well, that's too late now, Danny.
That's a low point of my racing career.
We're gonna save that for Ask Uncle Danny. That's a new segment that we have.
So this is the reason why my car has one exhaust point this way and the other one points that way, like that.
It was not me. I wasn't in the car when this happened. There's a certain hill that did not agree with Danny.
Yes. Oh, well, let's not talk about that. All right, so I have a follow-up question. So some of us who race know say you're super fast in your GT4. What made you choose the GT4 as your go-to race car? And then do you have any particular story or reason behind that choice?
The choice I made is because I had a friend of mine, Chris Nolan, who had a GT4 at the time. And he says, you should try it sometime in an autocross. I went, okay. And I went, wow, this thing can stop. Yeah. It's got the GT3 brakes and a much lighter car. And then I rode along with Bill Calcado on the track one time in his GT4 going into turn 1. I'm like, wow, this thing can stop. That was really what sold me. It was like the brakes. It's like there's no more delicious feeling than being able to stop when you want to.
Yeah, it certainly does. So don't drive his MR2. That thing doesn't start.
Well, it doesn't get very fast to begin with.
No, so. Just kidding. Love you, Chris.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. So many fast drivers we've interviewed have shared their speed secrets. What is your speed secret at Autocross? Any tips you have for the listeners?
Aside from the eyes up, and actually probably not really a secret, I would say, but if you're about my height, so I'm about 5'9", and you have your sun visor down, if that's not bothering you because you can't see, then your eyes are not up far enough. Now, if you're shorter or taller than that, that might be kind of out of whack, but that's what I've kind of noticed. And then the other two things that I've noticed, especially with the braking, is when you have that thought of, I'm going to brake there, that's actually when you should be braking, is when you're having that thought. And then, of course, getting on the gas sooner because it gets, I might get loose in the rear. I like getting loose in the rear. So if it does, whatever, I catch it.
No, it's interesting you say that because one of the method the Evolution Autocross School taught to make sure that your eyes are up is they put painter's tape across your windshield and take away majority of the lower portion of the windshield, and then it just make you look up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things. So, Ada, you need to do that. Not right now. You don't have to look up now.
You need some painter's tape.
I visualized my sun visor, and I don't think I'm looking up enough. I'm serious.
Yeah, it doesn't bother you at all.
I don't even know where it is.
You should take the sun visor and put it below you, and then you'll see.
But I could tell you every grain of dust on my dashboard. So I'm looking right down.
Uh-oh.
That's why I keep the microfiber cloth. I'm sitting waiting for my run. It's okay. We're good.
All right. So let's talk about here, I'm not kidding. Let's talk about your incredible car control skills. I'm not being patronizing, right? You're known for your amazing performance on the skid pad. So I once witnessed you drifting a 600 plus horsepower Mustang in a skid pad over 10 minutes, fast and slow, do whatever, cutting some crazy angles, right? It just completely under control, like what you talked about, right? Could you share some tips on how you drift perfectly on skid pad at both fast and slow speeds? And how can we learn the same control skills as you have, right? And could you tell us a little bit more about your skid pad school?
Sure. So with skid pad, at least with that Mustang's a cheater car. Nice long wheelbase. It's got a ton of power, so it actually doesn't take much to break loose. What a lot of people don't realize is if you bring a very powerful car to horsepower, if you bring a powerful car to skid pad with a lot of horsepower, you're going to spin more often, because it does break traction so much more easily, at least if you bring a rear-wheel drive car. That Mustang also is set up for drifting, so it's got an insane amount of just steering angle. I got back out in the GT4, I just spun like immediately. I'm like, oh, right, I can't turn that much. Yeah. It stops right there. And that's another thing with the GT4, because it's so well-balanced, it just is going to spin like a top. Same thing with the Boxsters, the Caymans. I mean, the 911, like once you get that rear out, it's like you kind of start torquing and then you just sort of stop. You just want to get the butt out there. You don't really want to wiggle it after that. Going fast and slow as far as just the control on the skid pad, it's all just throttle. It's a lot of throttle steering. One of the things I like to do when people come out to skid pad, because you go, oh, understeer is boring. I don't want to do understeer. I only want to do oversteer. I just want to drift, which, I mean, come on, it's drifting. I totally get it. I'll let them get their jollies out, get a couple laps in and oversteer. And like, let me show you what you can do with understeer. and I'll just do full wheel lock, and I can drive that car wherever I want with my right foot.
Wow.
Full wheel lock understeer. Wow. And what they don't realize is you need that throttle management to also drift well. You're going to need it for both understeer and oversteer if you want that kind of precision, which is what I'm all about. Like if I become known as like the premier precision driver, I'm okay with that. So that, as far as controlling speed, when you're on skid pad, let's say that you are in a drift, all it's going to be is just countering for whatever movement is the car is going to be doing. What I like to try and tell people, especially with oversteer to begin with, is most people kind of jump the gun. They just want to do power oversteer and they just slap that throttle. Yeah. You're going to go around.
That's what I'm doing.
Well, you can lead up to it more gradually. So you just kind of lean into it, because there's going to be a certain point where it's going to break loose regardless. You just don't have to get there very quickly. And you give yourself more time for your hands to catch it, because especially in the beginning, you just don't have fast hands. You're not going to until you practice it for a little bit. And then once you kind of get that, plus the throttle control, then yeah, you can do whatever you want. I can go from first gear all the way up to sixth gear and then back down while I'm drifting. I can go to the inside. I can go to the outside. And it's all just, you're going to be your right foot. I mean, unless you're left foot braking, but still.
Nice.
Amazing.
That's it in a nutshell. That's all you need to know, right?
It's easy to say than done.
Exactly.
I can attest that 100%.
I feel like I just learned how to drift, by the way.
Well, I mean, that's what I thought.
I'm literally watching myself. I'm getting pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it again.
Yeah. Let me put my sun visor down. Oh, now I'm looking down.
Where is that thing? I never know where that sun visor is.
Do I even have one?
I don't even know if I have a sun visor.
Well, before I let you go on that particular question, you haven't talked a little bit about your skid pad school.
Yes. So this started because I was such a fan of skid pad, and it seemed in the beginning I was the only one. Everyone thought skid pad was lame. I'm not going fast. And the thing is, when you are on a wet skid pad and you're not going to be going faster than 35 miles an hour, because it's not physically possible, at least not on the skid pads that Summit has, you do not feel like you're going that slow. Most of the time I can kick out the GT4 doing maybe 28 miles an hour, if that. And Danny has experience with how slow speeds can potentially not end well. So,
she brought it back.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's like, would you rather learn that doing 28 miles an hour or 88 miles an hour? Because I know which one I would rather.
Right. You know, like you never hear me bragging about, this is what I did at skid pad. I would brag about how fast I was at Road Atlanta, but and it's because I'm a terrible skid pad driver.
No, you are a good skid pad driver, because what I try to do with people who are track drivers is I want them to recognize and understand what situations they're getting themselves into so they can get themselves out of it. The whole drifting part is just kind of a bonus. But the whole skid pad school grew out of my interest in skid pads. So we initially I rented skid pad privately a number of times. And then Summit changed their rules and said, well, we can't rent to anyone other than an organization that has liability insurance, like for a business.
Right.
So then we started the PCA skid pad program. And then the demand was just so overwhelming. It's just like, I'm just going to go ahead and start a company and see how it goes. And it's been a lot of fun because we have a little bit more wiggle room than some of the car clubs, just because we're a smaller organization. And also, I know a lot of people personally. So if I know and trust you, I'm like, yeah, okay, you can go ahead and, do that. It's your car. If you ding it up, that's on you. Whereas if it's somebody that I don't know, I'm like, let's just hold back. Let me see what you're going to be doing on skid pad first. But one of the things that we do, for instance, that maybe not other people do, because we're all used to the main skid pad on Summit Main, and you only go counterclockwise. Do you guys know why we go counterclockwise on Summit Main skid pad?
I actually don't know. Is it because there's more room to wiggle, like on the opening area?
No, it's because that emergency road goes right into skid pad from turn one. So if someone loses brakes and they're going down that road and you're going clockwise, you're not going to see them coming.
Right.
That's why, unless you're advanced, you're going to go counterclockwise.
That's right.
And everyone's just used to that. So at our events, we're like, we'll start you out one way and then you have to go the other way. And everyone who has done skid pad at Summit Main is just like, this feels so weird. Yeah. This is so unnatural. But you're going to be turning both right and left, so you should probably have training doing skid pad going both ways.
Yes.
So that's another thing that we do. And then something else we do is, I know a lot of car clubs, for liability purposes and other things, they'll only have one car on at a time. Mm-hmm. And I try to make skid pad a little bit kind of like a Cliff Notes version of different driving events. situational awareness. We'll start off with 2 cars, but once you're more advanced, we'll have 3, 4 cars on there.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I need to be able to know that you are aware. And if something happens, that you're going to get people by and you're not going to A, ruin the flow, and B, hit somebody or, do something wacky.
Yep. 100%.
It's a lot of fun for me. And it's also a lot of fun to hear from the people like, I don't know if you guys know Brian Barry. He's a PCA guy.
Mm-hmm. No, we don't know Brian.
He kind of just graduated from beginning to advanced. I put people into 2 different groups. Beginners, just basically like if you can't maintain for more than like a half a lap to a lap, everything is about flow for me, because one of the frustrating things for me when I used to do skid pad at these track events, I might be paired with somebody who's never done it before. And it's not their fault that they're spinning out all the time, but I'm not advancing either because I'm just sitting there because they spun.
Right.
So if I don't know somebody, I'll pair them by horsepower or by car. And if you can't maintain a lap or so and oversteer, then I just term you as a beginner only for the spinning part. So then I've got 2 people spinning.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because if you're advanced and you spin, okay, to let people by, and then that's basically it.
I remember the time when I went there, I think I spun 4 times and the rest of the beginners spun once. I want that. I got 4 instead of 1.
Getting back to Brian, he was saying that he's in blue group for PCA Potomac. So for people who don't know about the different run groups for track driving, you have 2 instructed groups and then you've got 3 solo groups. So he's in the 2nd instructed group. And he had an instructor, he said the last time, he said, well, I normally don't recommend people to go to white, which is the first solo group, until they've been to some different tracks and they have some diversity as far as different tracks and like what to expect. And he looks over at her and she says, I just got promoted to blue. And it was the car control skills. And I've had a lot of other people say that they got more comfortable just doing track driving because they had that car control skill and they just knew without having to think about it what their car was going to do. Yep. And it was the same thing for me. It was like I just leapfrogged so many different levels in both autocross and track driving after I had done so many skid pads because I didn't have to think about it. Yeah, I just knew what the car was going to do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, these are something that usually people learn. It takes, years and years and years to learn. Like even in autocrossing, there's a lot of, direction changes and all that stuff. And then having car control and throttle control is really the key, right? It is amazing that, you can do in a skid pad and pick it up all that stuff in a hurry and in a condensed format instead of, me at probably 5, 6, 7 years before I realized, okay, this is exactly what's going on, right?
Well, and you can really tell smoothness on skid pad too. So most people, when they first start, it's going to be herky-jerky because, of course, you haven't refined it. But that's why I teach people the whole just gradually build up to that speed because then you're smooth anyway. Right. Because the last thing you want is a tank slap where you're going one way and then the other way because you're correcting late and you're all herky-jerky on the wheel. And it's the same thing with driving in autocross or on the track. If you've got switchbacks or whatever, you don't want to be like kicking it out to one side and then the other because the car's like, what are you doing to me? I thought you liked me.
In some ways, like autocross driving is almost like the opposite of, you want to keep it in and not instead of stepping out.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
So besides the PCA Potomac events and the Road Potomac skid pad clinics, that's roadpotomac.com, where else can our listeners find you? And how can we listen to your helicopter reports and radio shows?
So I just started doing evenings on Big 100. So that's 100.3 in the DC area. So you can listen to me there. As far as the NBC reports, that's basically breaking news. So like the Key Bridge, you probably heard me in the morning when the house exploded. My favorite, which I don't want to say it that way, but when I first started, before I started doing the on-air reports, I told everybody at NBC, I said, I would love to get a car chase. That conversation happened on a Tuesday. And then I think it was like 3 days later. Yeah, it was that Friday. We had that highway assistance truck that just ran amok in Silver Spring.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. I thought that you called me and Ada. No, I'm just kidding.
No, and it was so funny because it's just like we were watching the video back and it's like if you're just a regular driver on the road, there was one guy who pulled over initially because he had 4 cop cars behind him. He must have been like, well, what did I do? Because they also brought a tow truck.
Oh, my God.
There's no way to know that the tow truck is what they're trying to get to pull over.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
I remember that.
The people he hit, but that was pretty awesome.
That was pretty wild. He went everywhere. So basically, the footage that we saw was actually you in there following them.
That was me.
I do want to say, I saw your Facebook post one time, and then I think we just posted somewhere and says, "Hey, you're showing the fire in North Potomac Quarry. That's less than a mile from my house."
I smelled like a campfire.
Yeah. So the
and all the windows were shut on the helicopter. I was just like, why do I smell like? Oh, right.
So the first thing I came out, I ran out of the house to say is, "Where's the fire?" But I don't live that close. But it's really funny that it's like you know my neighborhood is on fire, but I have no idea.
I kind of liken it to looking at track maps or autocross courses. You can see it from the air, and it looks so much different than when you're on the ground. And in the beginning, especially for the helicopter thing, I have no idea where I am. What's Google Maps say?
That's amazing. Okay, so now I have a couple of surprise questions for you.
Oh boy.
Surprise questions, right? So according to our top secret source, top secret source, which I cannot reveal who the person is, right? We like to know, question one is, why should everybody buy a Toyota?
That's because I did stunt driving for Toyota last year. I got to drive the Camry and the 4Runner. So if you saw the bright orange 4Runner in the commercials for Toyota last fall, that was me driving.
Yay.
That's fantastic. That's awesome.
It was honestly a bucket list item for me. I had always wanted to be a stunt driver, and we were on Summit. But the funny thing is, like, all the different cuts, I'm like, I wasn't pointed the regular way.
Right.
Sometimes I was completely backwards. Basically, like for a lot of the shots where they wanted some of the gators, they're like, we just need the cleanest part.
Right.
Okay. So, you know, the track's curving like this, but they want me shooting off like this. I'm like, well, these brakes are kind of done, but okay, there's a gravel pit there.
Yeah, I saw, part of the commercial that I saw was as you were going opposite turn 10, heading up the opposite direction and, in a TRD Camry.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
exactly the turn I was talking about. Yeah.
So how is the TRD Camry? And there's a reason why I asked, because a friend of mine, well, actually a few friends of mine who works at a Toyota Lexington facility, who designed and help put the project together, TRD Camry, it will probably listen to this.
I really liked it. It had a lot of horsepower. Technically, it has more horsepower than the GT4 that I have.
Oh.
The electronic steering was numb, but it's electronic steering.
Right.
That's going to be the case regardless. I probably would have a lot more fun with it if the car that they brought out had race pads on it, because I was kind of through the regular pads that first day.
Right.
And I'm sorry. I apologize in advance to anybody who might buy that car, because both that and the 4Runner had maybe 96 miles on them, and I was flogging them. And I said, do you really want me to do this? Because they're not broken in. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those cars are press cars that they just kind of keep it afterwards. So we probably won't see it. Now, maybe it's a One Lap of America, Team Toyota car now. So believe it or not, the second question is also picture related. So I want to know how I can get a picture from Taylor Swift signed.
There it is. Best question we've ever asked.
That was when I was in St. Louis, and I was the music director for a pop station, kind of like Hot 99.5 here, the contemporary in St. Louis at the time. And so that was kind of when Taylor really had started stepping more into the pop world, because she obviously started in country. Mm-hmm. So typically even then she was doing 2 nights wherever she would stop for tours. So the first night she would have all the country radio programmers backstage, and then the next night was basically everybody else. But I think it was Joe Jonas she had just broken up with. I don't remember. I'm backstage, and my dad was like a big fan of Taylor Swift. He says, "You tell her it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying. She just needs to keep doing what she's doing." I'm like, okay. And I told her that. It was like this mask just kind of fell off her face, and she said, "Thank you. I really needed to hear that tonight." I just felt so bad for her.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She really is.
And I can give you a little extra secret. I don't know how she does it. She might record it, or she just might have that kind of phenomenal memory, or even if she wrote it. But if you meet her backstage, at least for programmers, you will get a handwritten thank you card afterwards.
That's amazing.
And it will reference what you talked about.
Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tessa. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. You guys can improve your driving skill by attending the PCA Autocross schools and learning from instructors like Tessa, or getting in-depth car control skills at Road Potomac Skid Pad Car Training Control Clinic.
It's a mouthful. Yeah. You don't have to say it. We just let you drive. But I will say our next event's going to be May 25th.
May 25th.
First day of Memorial Day weekend.
Excellent. Perfect. Because on the website, I think it still has the April 21st.
Yeah, I'm not posting it, because you either have to do our event or be on our mailing list, and you're the first one to know about it.
Oh, I love it. That's even more incentive. Thank you. And thank you to experts like Tessa, Gary, and Raphael. So thank you again, Tessa.
Of course. Yeah. Raphael's like, ooh, I get to come hone my skills so I can, maybe beat Danny at autocross.
Oh, I mean, he beats me all the time. Great. Thank you so much again, Tessa, for joining us. For our meeting a new autocross friend, I'm happy to introduce Matt Huffman to everyone as our new autocross friend. Matt is a very experienced racer who sets a bunch of track records at time attacks. And he also autocrosses a lot with the DMV Autocross clubs. It is our pleasure to welcome Matt to our podcast. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Danny. It's good to be here. So we're out here at the first PCA event of the year. Just knocked off 12 back-to-back runs in the RX-8, coming down from the high of being on course. So there's no better time to talk about autocross.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yep. And then, Matt, I've seen your name on a time attack timesheets for a few years in autocrosses, but we never really had a chance to chat, so I'm excited to find out more about, what your takes at this hobby, right? How'd you start your racing hobby? How did your racing hobby start for you?
It probably started with my dad. He had an old Omni GLH, and we weren't necessarily racing it, but, he would drive it spirited on the street. So I guess I got the passion for sports cars, riding along in that little hot hatch. And then it kind of grew from there. I was actually the one that got him into racing. That happened around 2007, and I'm not even sure how I heard about it. Maybe I was working at the Saturn dealer and I saw something going on out here. But I was like, well, that looks cool. I've always been into cars, but I just been a street guy, tinkering around, building cars for the street, but you can't use them really to their full extent on the street. So I was like, bit by the bug. I needed to go actually somewhere where I could really drive the car in anger safely.
Right. No, that is awesome. So why autocross? Do you find it beneficial to go back and forth between track racing and autocross?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into autocross because everyone is right. I think it's the most approachable, easy way to get into performance driving. The risks are relatively low. The barrier to entry is relatively low. It's super fun. That's why I keep coming back. So I'll run through the list. Like I've done hill climbs, rallycross. I've driven off-road Baja endurance trucks, time trials. Like I've done a lot of different things. I've done motorcycle track days. But I keep coming back to the autocross. There's great reasons for that. It's hard to find something that combines the low stress environment. Like you show up to a track day or hill climb, it's stressful because you can screw up. You show up to the autocross, yeah, you can screw up, you can spin out, you can hit a cone or something, but usually you're not worried about risk to the car. But it's still super fast, super intense, demands extreme precision. And at the autocross, like I've done all these different sports. You find great drivers everywhere, right? But it's rare that you find such a high concentration of so many great drivers. So when I talk with people about, wanting to benchmark myself, I get the best benchmark coming out here to the autocross. People like Lenny kicking my butt in his RX-8. Like that's where you learn how you stack against other people.
Right. So now here comes a hard question, right? So which one out of all the events that you do, which one do you prefer? Don't just say autocross because you're here, right? Yeah. So what do you prefer the most?
I think it's hard to beat wheeling a rear-wheel drive car in the dirt. So rallycross for me has been just a huge amount of fun. I think dirt's a great equalizer. Puts people on an interestingly level playing field. Time attack has its own appeals. You're going fast. You're focused on precision and getting that perfect lap. But I like autocross because every time I come out here, it's a different track. Like I know when you go to VIR Summit Point, Dominion, yes, the track is different, a little different every weekend, right? Yeah. Different conditions, your car's a little bit different, so you're having to adjust a little bit, but there's nothing like coming out to a new autocross lot, walking it, committing it to memory, and then tweaking the execution on the fly like that, learning all of its nuances. Like, you've been to VIR 30, 40, 50 times, you learn most of its nuances. You come out here, it's something new. You have to adjust on the fly. That's what I like about autocross.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's just like, today's autocross, there's off-camera stuff everywhere. So, I saw you making adjustments. I'm working at, the station actually right behind here. Man, like I see adjustments every run. And then, the initial plow went away. And
today I took advantage of the test and tune. Absolutely. Between runs, I had a very fantastic pit crew who was helping out. But I'm on new Falcons. I put Olin's from the white car on. So I've got new suspension, new tires. So I'm tuning tire pressures, looking at the tire temperature data, playing with the shocks, all of that stuff. And it all did come together. Like I was able to find a lot of time out there today. And that's part of the fun.
No, that's fantastic because just as a bystander working outside, I can definitely see, tons of improvement. The car's working great.
Thanks, Dan.
You go through the section. Yeah, that's great. So I would consider you a guru of the Mazda RX-8s. And I've seen you race, the same platform a lot. So what do you like about this platform? And I have a pretty good idea on how great the car is to drive, because I had one some time back. But for our listeners, why would they consider choosing an RX-8 for their motorsports hobby?
Danny, how much time do you have? Right? So once I got an RX-8, the first time I ever test drove one, I was like, this car feels different. There is something different with the way this car drives, the way it feels, the way it engages me, the way it stirs my emotions. After that, it's been basically all RX-8s. And I've had 2 of them now. I mean, the chassis rigidity, Mazda's engineering to keep things lightweight, the suspension design on it, it's basically, everyone asks me, how does it compare to the NC? Well, it's NC with 4 doors and a hard top, right?
That's right.
It drives a little bit
bigger. Cars are the same.
I mean, you've got the long wheelbase, which has a lot of stability. You can drive it really hard in anger. I really love the characteristics of the rotary engine, like 9,500 RPMs, just sounds different, just feels differently. But it's still a momentum car, so if you get things wrong, you can't just put your foot in it and make up all that time.
That's right.
So I like the fact that you still have to drive with a lot of precision. You can't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, just the way the car moves, the way I fit in it, I can't wax poetic enough about that as a platform. And it's actually been exciting to see a lot of people get into them that were like, yeah, I saw you out there racing yours or whatever. And it's been like 5, 6, 7 people who have come up to me and say, I got an RX-8 because of you. And I'm like, oh, hopefully I haven't screwed your life up. Yeah, it's just a fantastic platform that I think is underappreciated.
Right. Well, they can't do wrong. I mean, it's a bigger Miata, just like you said. And then, it's really a fantastic car. I mean, some of the folks like John Venervas has been taking it to the next level. Bigger motor, automatic transmission this year and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, do you have any plans to kind of, go that way and engine swap? And
yeah, I mean, the LFX swap has been tempting. I'll start by saying I think the RX-8 in general gets a bad reputation. That is undeserved. That car has 90,000 miles on it. It's on the original engine. I just beat the crap out of it today.
Right.
And it took it like a champ. It's still going strong. So I think a lot of that comes from people not maintaining them.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with my previous car. They went low on oil, messed up one of the bearings. So, back to the question at hand. So you ask, big aspirations, big plans. So I'm not saying this to be pretentious. I have a huge trophy wall at home. Time trial trophies, autocross trophies, rallycross trophies, you name it. When I set out, to do time trialing back in 2014, or when I got seriously a couple of seasons into rallycross, I was out to win, to prove to myself and to others that I was fast, I was the man, and I got, numerous regional championships from that. I'm at the point now where I don't necessarily have anything left to prove, either to myself or other people. That car, it's nowhere near the level of prep that my white car was. Like, my white car was built up pretty close to the limits of the rules because I was trying to set hill climb records, I was trying to set time trial records, and I'm not dissuading anyone from pursuing that. That's a worthy pursuit. Like, get the trophy, put it on the wall. But I guess I'm just at the point in my racing career, I've been doing it for 15 years now, that just being out here today, just having the fun, just driving the car to the limit, like, that's the reward, that's the trophy for me. I could put money into that to go faster, to be more competitive at autocross, certainly to be more competitive at time trials in the original low compression engine. But at this point, I'm just having so much fun with the low stress, low headache, not worrying about prepping or tuning the car to any, high level, that it's kind of relieving, right? You just kick back, relax, and just have fun. Because that's really, you don't want to lose sight of that, because when I was out to seriously compete, a lot of times you lose sight of the having fun aspect, at least for me. And I didn't want to get sucked back into that. Like, I'm here to have fun. Keep that at the top of the list. Sure, it is fun to throw new parts up the car, to go faster. Totally fun. And it's good to be competitive. But at this point, Danny, I'm like, I've had my competitive moments, and they're fun, right? They're rewarding, but I'm just here to enjoy.
That is the best thing I've heard in a long time. Because, I mean, I'll be quite frank. I'm also at that point.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but these days I almost get more enjoyment seeing someone prep up and to chase me, with the intent to chase me or beat me, and then they do it, and I'm like overjoyed for them.
Yes.
Because they're like, hey, I beat this guy. He's been, setting the records and everything. It makes them feel so fantastic. And I'm like, that's great, because I was once that guy.
Yes.
Chasing the guy at the front of the pack. So
right.
I think it's just fantastic to see that. And like you said, it's all about the community. It's all about that shared enthusiasm.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. Great. Really love to hear that. And so just to kind of sort of wrap it up, so what's your racing plan this year? Any goals and aspirations? I mean, what else is there?
I mean, I'm going to make it to as many tracks as I can and just get as much seat time as possible, right? I've got a full season. I see a lot of young people getting into the sport, and they think they have to have the perfect car. It's got to be super fast. There's got to be a lot of money in it. The more and more you do to your car, the more you diverge from stock, you'll learn generally that your reliability will suffer, and you're spending all of your budget on go fast parts and not on seat time. Like, if I could leave the audience, especially the newer folks, with anything, it's run what you're brought. As long as it's in good mechanical condition, come out, learn to drive it, keep it simple, just get that seat time. That's what I'm all about. I'm just here to get to as many events as possible and just get the seat time.
All right, great. That is awesome. This is probably I'll be honest, this is one of the best interviews I've had. That is great. Thank you so much, Matt. And really, really thank you for joining us today, especially on a super short notice.
No worries, Danny.
Yeah.
Yep, you're very welcome.
And then definitely wishing you, a best and fun 2024 season. And I'm sure you will.
Thank you. Same to you,
Thank
Danny.
you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt. This concludes our podcast episode. Everyone is excused except for the novices. Our novice meeting begins now. For today's novice meeting, we will continue on the subject of SCCA classing. We ended the last novice meeting with street class. And let's now move over to the SCCA street touring class. So, Danny, what are the rules?
All right. Let's go over the highlight of the rules. And this is a whopper, like we talked about in the last episode. Well, let's do the best we can on this. Let's break it down by bodywork. Some of the typical rules within the bodywork would be that's allowable. It will be fender rolling, different steering wheels, race seats, and so forth. Tires, there are different size requirement for different classes. In wheels, same as tires. There's different sizes for different classes. Suspension, we can talk about shock absorbers. You can use any shocks, most of the sway bars. You can have camber kits and so on and so forth. Brakes, you can go to larger brakes. You can go to lighter brakes. Yeah, so a lot of that kind of stuff. Electrical, you can change your battery, which is kind of cool. A lot of weight, right? Especially in newer modern versions of this stuff. Yeah.
Especially the newer. Yep.
So engine mods, you can do a lot of bolt-ons, but you can touch internals, and we'll touch some of that. Exhaust, you can change from header all the way down to the back. But you have to maintain your emission standards. We definitely don't want to, would discourage you to turn into a race car 100%. So you must meet all the emission criterias. And then and limited slip, and that's also by class. Yeah, in fact, some of the classes are determined by what kind of limited slip you have. So yeah, I guess we can start going through all of them. STR is the next logical progression from the street class. If you want to move on to the next, if you want to start prepping your car into the next level, in my opinion, my humble opinion. That's a great class to be if you want to start modifying before you start going crazy, right? And then the major reason that I would want to prep my car into a STR class will be most of our modern cars does not have camber. So once you introduce front camber, and you and changing a suspension spring rates, right? Yeah. Basically suspension work, and then now all of a sudden your car will be easier to drive, turning easier, you can control the rotation.
It becomes more exciting.
Yeah, it becomes a lot more exciting. So not saying that a C Street Miata in street class is not exciting, right? But once you put in your street touring R race classes.
Roadster.
Yeah.
Roadster, so you're thinking of STR because you're
That's
a Miata
right.
guy with your ND Miata.
That's
so
right.
You're saying STR, but you mean ST. You're just Miata is the answer.
That's right. I was just trying to make an example out of it, right?
Okay. So understood. Yep.
So a well driven a C Street Miata can be very, very fast, right? But a well driven STR car that's in a ND Miata, it's insane,
it's another animal.
It's absolutely insane. So they often run raw times of the fastest Porsches out there in autocrossing, right? So that tells you that an STR prep can drastically change the behavior of a car, right? Okay, so let's talk about bodywork. Some of the highlights that I read, came out of the rule books are, fender rolling. You can roll into you cannot cut your fenders or any of that stuff, but you can roll your fenders, right? Yep. And then sometimes that determines how big of a tire you can run, both inside and outside.
Yeah.
Right.
Rolling is allowed. Pulling is not.
Pulling is not. You can only roll the fenders. One of the example would be 245. I kept on using Miata as an example because
that's a perfect example.
Right. Yep. So sometimes 245s will rub a little bit. It depends on how much spacers you use, or if you use spacers at all, or the offset of the wheels. I've seen Miatas, Indy Miatas, you can throw 255 on those, with proper fender rolling and adjustments of the camber and in some alignment works, right? The larger, typically in autocrossing, the wider the tire, with the same kind of a tire, and then wider the rim, it's going to give you more grip. It makes usually the time drops when the tires are getting bigger, right? Those are, I think
that's a universal autocross rule.
Yeah. So back in the day, we're seeing people running 7-inch wheels and 7-inch rims, and then slam 275 tires on 7-inch just to get larger contact patch, right? So that's pretty much a must do. But in the modern days, you don't have to do that kind of stuff anymore, especially in ST classes. You can run proper tire size for the proper rim size, but you want to leverage as much of a rim as you can, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, the other couple of things that you can change too is steering wheels. Some people can change steering wheel. In most cases, in certain rules, you have to retain your airbags, right? But there are specific rules that allows you to ditch your airbags and just go to actual racing steering wheel. So for more details, you want to check read the rule book closely and see what's allowed and what's not allowed. The other thing that you can do is changing race seats, right? That's actually a biggie, and especially with something, a car like Ada Supra or something like that, where the seats weighs 55 to 60 pounds each. And then you can go down to your typical Sparcos or Corbeau and Momo seats or whatever. And the total weight, I believe, including the brackets and all that stuff, has to be a minimum of 25 pounds, right? So the beauty of it is not only you get more support while you drive, right? Yeah, you can sometimes ditch 30 pounds, 35 pounds on each side, and that's significant. It actually does help you. For sure. All right. Sure. Okay. So let's talk about tires a little bit.
Well, before we go from tires, Danny, I want to just kiss on something else in bodywork in the rule set that I absolutely think SCCA nailed. And that is the allowance of a few dress-up items. Because we're all here having fun. We're all in the cars. And I'm going to go back to it. They allow things like fun chrome dipsticks and oil-filled caps and all these things that you think to yourself, you wouldn't think that they would be illegal, but they specifically say you're allowed to have a little bit of fun, assuming they serve no other purpose as a fun dress-up item. So we are still allowed to have just a little bit of fun while we're playing around.
Well, like how much fun do you want to have after you already got your exhaust?
Oh, very little. But I'm just giving an example for the other listeners. But I mean, exhaust is all that really matters, right? I mean, you can't hear an oil filler cap.
Right. So there's some other stuff that, the fun stuff will be like non-functional. Whatever, certain cars come with spoilers and all of that stuff. Things are like non-functional, and you're, like a scoops and vents and as long as you're non-functional and just for dress up stuff, you could do it. Yeah. Like changing the front, I don't know, I don't know about changing a different fender to add some aero effects, but these are the things that you have to kind of be careful with.
One good example is the headlights. If you have one of those yellow headlights, for example, totally legal. It's fun. I mean, I don't know if it's legal on the roads, those bright yellow lights, but
that's right. So for the most part, as long as they're not if there's no performance benefit, you can most likely you can attempt to do that. Okay. And now let's talk about tires, right? The different size of tires for all the different classes. And of course, you can go to a rule book and get some more details, but notably, STR two-wheel drive, like the ND Miatas, the maximum is 255. STX cars, two-wheel drives can be up to 265. And then STX all-wheel drive can only go up to 245, right? STUs, all-wheel drive STUs now is at 295.
Wow.
Yeah. And also rear mid-engine, rear force induction is 295. It's probably accommodating Porsche, Caymans and stuff, right? And then the rear-wheel drive that's not mid-engine, STU cars, Corvettes can go up to 315. And SST has no limit. So your car is an SST, which is a Supra. You can get like 405s or something.
If I take my Aero off, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can turn it into a tractor trailer.
We do have to make a disclaimer, Danny, because these tire rules do change, and I feel like they almost change annually or
yeah, they change a lot. So SCCA has a advisory committee for street touring, just like for any other class. And then they constantly make whatever the changes they are, based on whatever the information that you try to write in. There's plenty of people that, every year they're writing 2-3 letters to benefit themselves and say, I want my Supra to have X, like what Ada's doing, right?
Well, I don't write letters. Yeah. I can't read or write.
And then that's why sometimes you wear a shirt to say thank you for your input and get it.
Thank you for your input.
And get on my face.
They throw the input right in the
my pleasure. My pleasure.
It's exactly the Chick-fil-A my pleasure.
Yeah,
That's
pleasure.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You got my order wrong. My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for your input equals my pleasure.
Oh my God.
All right, there you go.
True.
Okay. All right. So let's move down to wheels, right? So if you follow Grassroots Motorsports, if you read Mr. Hollis's articles, right? A lot of times he would have a bunch of tire tests, and he also tests wheel sizes in combination of the tires. So literally most of the time the perfect fit wheel with the right tire is probably the fastest. And the bigger the wheels is, the fatter the tires are, the better they are. Right. So if you want to explore all the rules, if your rules tells you that you can run up to 11 inches and run 295s, that's exactly what you do. You run up to the max.
There's a reason that those rules are set at that number.
That's right. Right. Exactly. Because they don't want people to run 11 inches or 12 inches at 295 or 11 inches or 12 inches at 315 or something like that. So check out those rules. Right. Yep. So when you look at the wheel allowance in STR, again, I have an ND, so a 9-inch, which I know that 17 by 9 fits perfectly, right? Yep. SCR, SH are both at 9-inch. SST, again, is unlimited, so you can run 12s, or whatever if you want to, if it fits. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. All right. Another thing, while we're at the rules, it's just like the street class, you want to explore advantages, right? So the best thing to do is buy the lightest and the strongest wheel.
Yep.
Yeah, and that fits. So yeah. I mean, they can get expensive, right? Yep. But if you want to explore some competitive advantages, that's where you go.
Right? And there's a lot of math and engineering behind wheel weight versus that static weight in your vehicle and all this other stuff. And I don't think we need to get into all that, but it's a big deal. That there's a reason why you go for the lightest wheel.
Yeah, and there's definitely a reason why a lot of autocrossers, especially season ones running Corvettes and Porsches and stuff like that, they will go to Sam Strano and ask Strano to get them a set of either BC Forge or Apex or something like that. So fitting is also another issue, but check with your experts on that. Sometimes you do your internet searches or whatever, that works fine. If something that's obvious, 17 by 9 lightest wheel for STR on ND, that's at plus 45, that's already a standard formula. That doesn't take much. But for someone, for something like a your obscure Porsche or CA Corvette, talk to an expert. Yeah.
So you say talk to an expert. I'm gonna shout out Sam right now. He is an expert. He knows his stuff inside and out. He outfits some of the fastest guys in this whole country. I mean, that when you say talk to an expert, he's like the first one to come to mind.
Sam is our region. So, and he is the BC Forge expert. So if you want to go down that route, give Sam a call. Yeah. All right. And then let's talk about shock absorbers.
That was a non-paid advertisement.
We don't get paid. We pay Sam to talk about him. All right. Okay. So let's quickly jump to shock absorbers, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like any kind of shock absorbers can be used.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You just can't change the geometry of the car, or
or the mounting,
or the mounting
location.
points and pickup points and stuff like that. But you can run singles, doubles, triples, and I don't know if you can run quadruples.
You can run externals, you can run internals, you can run outer space internals, whatever you want to do.
I know. Yeah. You can run any nocturnals. No, just
nocturnals, dayturnals.
Yeah, whatever. But and you can run any kind of a spring rate, but I would recommend just be sensible. Right.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people believe in super stiff rates, and a lot of people believe in super soft rates, and then that's something that you guys have to figure out on your own to determine what you like. But in general, the lots here are bumpy. We don't have this perfect Pocono, smooth asphalt, that you can run on. So just to save your bones a little bit, maybe a little softer spring rates would be good when you drive on a road, unless you're trailering like Ada, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so those are and then spring rates, you can change them, and then a good shock and good set of spring rates that will completely dictate will basically control the balance of your car. So if you can swing it, good shocks, correct spring rate is it will help immensely. Yeah,
absolutely.
So now brakes, right? We can talk about brakes a little bit, which we don't have to talk too much other than changing pads, right? For most of these cars, you can't, for track, for track running, time attack, your brake is essential. It's very, 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 very important, right? But for autocrossing,
it's just not.
If you can stop, it's good.
Yeah,
right. Plus, we're not going to generate that fast of a speed. But notably, in some classes, if you have a super, super light car in a street prepare or something like that, we used to run like 9-inch brake rotors, and like somebody will try to exploit it by putting bicycle brakes on them, right? The little tiny ones. Yeah. Just in the effort of saving weight. But in our case, especially in street touring, you can definitely change brakes, and they come in handy if you double up to go on track. You'll take care of your brakes, but just make sure your brakes is in good functional, condition. And a lot of people run Ferroto DS2500 pads.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that seems like
it's an easy recipe.
It's an easy way to go. Right. Okay. And then
about brakes, though, you reminded me of when I first started getting into cars and got my license. We'd go to the little street races in the middle of the night at the end of 70, and I remember a bunch of guys didn't even run rear brakes. There's just no point. They just took them off.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. But hey, if you can't, whether you can stop or not, that's another thing.
Yeah, exactly. You got the front does most of the work, anyways, right?
Yeah. Or an electric car that no, the brakes doesn't do the work. No, just kidding.
Oh,
yeah. All right.
There was no electric cars back then.
Yeah, that's right. So now we can talk about like anti-roll bar or sway bars, right? So in street touring, you can allow to have two different sway bars. So you can have a different sway bar for the front and back, unlike the street class. So sway bar is I think the most inexpensive way for the adjustment because they're cheaper than tires, right? So the really seasoned folks use sway bar adjustment to control balance. By quite a bit. So it's a good thing to have a set of sway bars so you can control both front and back. And then sway bars can start from, a couple $100 to start all the way up to, like a set of car set bars are about $1,500 now, front and rear. So yeah, but they do their thing. And then do your homework, find out why car sets are good.
And pray your car is one of the cars that they make those bars for, right?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Or you can do what I do. I just grab this and then butcher it and make my own bar.
Cut that part out.
KO-seps.
Yeah. Oh, no. Cut that part out in post-editing.
Fabric Cobble Solutions.
Oh, my. Fabric Cobbled. Oh, my. Oh, we're going to jail.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. I just steal his parts and then do my own thing.
Is that because he didn't have parts for that application?
I'm just tired of begging them for making stuff for me. You know what I'm saying? So I figure I'll just make it myself, but by stealing his parts. I go, hey, Brian, I got to use your bathroom. You need to wash your car. Don't worry about it. Then I go over to the shop and I just raid all his parts, man.
You just raid all the parts, throw it in the trunk and go.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's called stealing, Danny.
Oh, it is. And sometimes while I'm at it, I scratch a couple parts and go, oh, these are scratches. And, can I get them cheaper?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to call him right now. I'm going to tell him right now.
That's right.
There's no parts of his that have scratches on them.
Oh, I know. It's terrible.
Like, that's why what you're saying is so funny.
Yeah. If things are not lined up by like 0.001 millimeters, it says, oh, trash, throw. And I just go to his trash bin and grab all of that.
Those tolerances are incredible.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So enough bad-mouthing Carwin. Let's move on.
I love that, man.
So suspension, you can change bushings. You just can't put metal bushings on. You can try. It's almost like you can try every other bushing except the metal bushings. Right? Polyurethane's fine. Delrin, rubber, whatever. Just no sphericals or metal bushings and stuff like that. Yeah, and you can use the bushings to control offsets. Some vendors will make offset bushings either on the upper control arm, lower control arm, or the knuckle, so you can play with all that. All right, and then let's move on a little bit. And again, those bushings are applied to all kinds of different places, right? You can use it for differential mounts, control arms, and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But don't overdo it. I mean, when your rubber bushings are going out, maybe go into Delrin. If you're into racing, to get a little bit more of a precise thing. But just remember, you put the bushings in, you're gonna start hearing some noises, and it's gonna bounce you around.
Yep. And then no one's gonna want to ride with you.
That's right. And then camber bolts, like camber adjustment, number one thing. You can put in camber plates. You can use you can change one control arm, I believe, to make it adjustable. Okay. So you can't change upper control arm and the lower control arm at the front at the same time. But you can change one
or the other.
Yeah, okay. one way or the other. Yeah. Obviously you can use camber bolts. Those are probably the cheapest solution. Sometimes you get another like a degree or something like that. Yeah. And stuff like that. And obviously camber plates, they can get a little bit expensive. Like sometimes I see camber plates like $650 now. But that's a very effective way to gain more room on the inside of your car and gain camber on top of it. So for tire clearance, if you can, you play with the camber plates and you play with lower control arms. And then so you can maximize and get the maximum room out of, especially the front side of your car. Okay. Let's see what else here. Going quickly through batteries, right? So for electrical system, you can definitely change batteries. This is important though, like Ada's car, right? I kept on grabbing Ada's car as an example. That battery could be 70 pounds, like 65 or something like that. It's something crazy, right?
Insane.
But you definitely don't want to take a battery that's 70 pounds. It's there for a reason, because I think there are 28 computers inside of a Supra. Right. So if you take a little tiny battery and you try to put it in there, you're going to power 2 computers out of the 28. It's not
going to work.
Right. So even if you can get it started and running something, when there's not voltage, something will freak out.
You need the same voltage.
You need the same voltage. You need to have the same capacity batteries. So, companies like Anti-Gravity will sell exactly the same size battery, except that they're 17 pounds instead of 70 pounds. But they also come with a hefty price of $900, right?
Oof, yeah.
So play your game carefully. You can save a lot of weight in batteries, but just make sure you don't put this too small of a battery in your car and end up causing all kinds of headache.
For sure.
Yeah, this could be all kinds of headaches. So think before you do that.
And Danny's mainly talking about the newer cars with all these computers, like the Supra. Yeah. If you go back a little bit to those old B series Hondas, you could run them with an ATV battery.
You can put a 2-pound battery in there and call it a day, right?
Yeah. There you
go. And if you can't start, you push it and start. Like try to push a car now to start. Right, so obviously that's all different.
I heard Todd Lilly's car takes an entire generator, like a power generator for a town to turn on.
Todd Lilly is like an incredible hawk if you ever met him in person.
He really is.
So what he does is he's like a one-man bobsled team. He pushes his car
then he jumps in.
Yeah. Awesome. One-man bobsled team. All right. Okay, so let's talk about engine modifications. Then again, we talk about no engine modifications. You can have some basic bolt-ons and stuff like that. Look at the rules closely. You can change your intake. But But like I don't think you can change things like injector size or like boring your intakes and the what do you call it, the throttle bodies and all of that stuff. No, you can only do that in street prepare. So yeah, basically you get the car, you can't touch it, you can tune it, right? You can do tuning. You can do tuning to a car. You can change your air intakes, but modern cars, a lot of modern cars, intake doesn't make any difference anymore. Right. But if you have an MB Miata, you can build long cold air intakes, and then generate a lot of air velocity. That will give you some advantage, right?
Of course.
And then now let's talk about exhaust, right? So exhaust, you can do almost all kinds of stuff in exhaust. You can change your header.
Yep.
But you have to maintain your cats.
Yes.
But you can do any kind of cat.
Yeah, and there's a trick there too. Say your car came with 4 cats, right? 3 cats, 4 cats. You only need 1.
Yeah, you can eliminate cats. So I mean, typically when we have 4 cats, you have exhaust coming on both sides, and there's one side and another side, and then there's like a secondary cat. So that's what make it 4. So when we say one cat, you really, in those kind of cars, is really 2 cats.
Those are 2, right.
Yeah, you can eliminate 1 on each side. So basically, you get whatever the downstream is, you can eliminate everything after the primary.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So if you see a car that has like 6 cats in one side and one car on the other side,
there you go.
You can get rid of 5 cats. Yeah. All right. So exhaust. What else, Tessa?
So about exhaust, there's also like local rules when it comes to exhaust. For example, that you might not see in the rule book, like decibel. It might have a rule about being too loud.
Okay. Yeah. That's very important what Ad is saying. So at nationals, there is a noise limit, right? So I believe it's 100 decibels at 50 feet or 75 feet. And again, check out your local rules. There are certain places that they will enforce sound, right? SCCA at Waldorf has a sound enforcement. 100%, right? Yep. So I know that you want to make your exhaust as loud as possible so you can pick up women or girlfriends or boyfriends the 100%. Way that Ada does. But so you cannot pick up anybody at Waldorf.
Cannot.
That's right. At Waldorf,
anyone up at Waldorf.
At Waldorf, you go to Chick-fil-A and get a milkshake. Right?
That's right.
And then listen to tell you my pleasure, and that's it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, that's all you can get at Waldorf. All right. So limited slip differential. It's the last thing we want to cover in ST class. You depending on what class you are. Cars that classes like STR and so forth. You could change the difference in limited slip differential. So a lot of people have like they have Torsons. Like the Miata clubs have Torsons that comes in stock, but a lot of people would go to Quave type or clutch type or Skykin places like that. So and then again look at the rule book closely. And if you're running ST classes. In certain classes, you cannot have limited slip differential. That's why that car is in that particular class. Right? So consider those. All right. So, we went very, very fast on this because there's a bunch of rules, right?
So many rules.
Yeah. On the next episode, we're going to talk about a class that only has 1 sheet of paper, which is my favorite class and Ada's favorite class. We're talking about Extreme Street and Cam.
X.
Yeah. So those are our classes, right?
But before we sign off, though, Danny, I did want to say that this class ends up being the not stock but not full race car, and a lot of regular car enthusiasts, a lot of us, this is where the cars fall.
Yes,
like it's a great set of rules. I raced in it for years. You raced in it for years. It's a driver's universe here where the car's not stock anymore, but it's not a full-fledged like monster, right? Yeah. Like you could still drive it to work or school or on a date, and it's fine. Yeah. And then you could go to the track or the autocross, and it's much better than stock, right? So like this is a sweet spot, and I do appreciate.
For years and years and years, there's no cam class or there's no street extreme class, right?
Right.
So this is the last stop for street tires. So you can modify your stuff and get here, and that's the last stop because anything after that it becomes street prepared. Right. And then once you get into those classes, now you talk about Hoosier tires, and now you talk about trailer in the car, or at least bring the tires with you, or have a tire trailer, right? So ST was the last stop for street tire racing for a long time. That's why a lot of us are in there.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
But now it's kind of proliferated into things like cam or extreme street. So majority of the people, when they first come out, I do see them either go into street class or jump into XS, because you either did nothing or you over modified. So, but that comes back to say that ST classes are, with exception of the race tire classes, they are the driver racers, experienced folks. They will tend to sit right in ST.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because that for the longest time, that is the top of the street tires. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So with that said, I wrap up our street tire portion of the rules. Next week, and again, we'll talk about a single sheet, extreme class, extreme street, and cam. And this will wrap up our 10th episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I can't believe we already did 10 of this already. It's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, so really thank you again for spending time with us. And then we, again, hope you find what we're doing informative and fun.
Yep. And don't forget to join us for the next episode. And until then, keep those tires on the track and that wing in the back.
Wing in the back.
Yeah.
All right.
Extreme. Yeah.
See ya.
So let's talk a little bit about why we're so loopy and tired. And what we did this past weekend. I don't even know where to start, Danny. We had a blast for 5 days.
Yep.
We drove down to Atlanta, the heart of the South.
Yeah.
We drove over to Alabama.
Yeah.
And then we drove back. I mean, it was unbelievable.
You guys had a fun drive. I didn't.
Oh no, you had a really rough drive.
So I got up super early in the morning and I left, and I figured I can get to Atlanta at 3:00 so that I can chill, relax, and register, and then go grab a good meal. But while I was talking to Ada on the phone right around noon, driving through constructions in Spartanburg, South Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. And I was talking and blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden, bam,
I heard it over the speakers.
I gotta find something. Okay, there we go. A rock this size.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Hits my windshield. Right. Mm-hmm. So then I spent the next 3 hours trying to find a replacement windshield because nobody would repair it. Of course, I couldn't find it. So we ghettoed the fix. I end up grabbing the window, put the resin of the windshield fixer, splatter all over the windshield where near the crack is, and I threw a piece of plastic. I guess I don't know, I don't know what that is.
It's film. It's like
it's like a plastic film, right?
For the visor.
Yeah. So I threw the film. I mean, actually, I put a temporary patch right on it, so that actually filled most of the crack, believe it or not. And then 3 hours after driving in 3 hours, the resin actually dried out or cured.
Yeah,
on the crack spot. And then we're eating dinner. We did another shot of the resin and do it the correct way. Then after that, we actually put the windshield tent or the window tent that usually goes on the inside.
It goes on the inside, correct.
And then we covered on the outside.
Yep.
And then covered it. Amazingly, it stayed the same.
And it hasn't grown.
Hasn't grown, hasn't done anything, has a beautiful star pattern about the size of like 2 inches, actually. Right.
It's like a beautiful snowflake.
Yeah, it's a beautiful snowflake. But surprisingly, the tech never looked at our car, and the crack didn't get any bigger. So we did 3 days of hard driving. I mean, hard driving.
Hard.
Right. I typically don't put that many laps in track days. I mean, I'm an autocrosser, so usually I do 1 to 2. I mean, I would do an out lap and then 2 to 3 laps maximum, and usually I often do 1 when the weather is hot, and then just in lap. That's what I do per session. But I put more than 200 laps. I'm sorry. I put more than 100 laps in those 3 days.
Yeah,
and on an average of about 2.5 miles per lap, right? So I probably put somewhere around 250 laps, 250 miles.
Miles, yep.
Alan claimed that he put 350 miles, 395 miles, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, he did a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So how many laps you do, Ada?
Probably a little bit less than you.
Yeah, you did a little bit less, I think.
Yeah, probably a little bit less.
I mean, I went to town at Barber. I love that place. So
yeah, I get tired. I get tired. And so I come in fairly early too.
I definitely went with it. No doubt. Yeah.
That was so fun.
I want to talk
about. So you mentioned Barber.
Okay.
Yes,
let's talk about Road Atlanta first.
Okay. There it is.
So the first place we went was Road Atlanta, right? Alan and I had been to Road Atlanta before. Ada hasn't been. So the whole entire time we told Ada that he's going to poop his pants when he sees turn 10 and 11. I mean, I'm sorry, turn 12 actually.
12. Yep.
So what do you think?
I was laughing at you guys because I was like, all right, old guys, I'm not scared. It's a turn. Okay, it's a little blind. No big deal. I'll be fine. Yeah. And so I'm doing the what are they called in the mornings before the
the sighting laps.
Sighting laps. Yeah, they're like the installation. They're very slow. Like nowhere near pace, nowhere near.
It's under full yellow.
It's under full yellow, and you're honestly, it's a glorified parade lap, right? It's nothing. I'm going around 40, 35, 40, maybe 45 miles an hour, and I'm coming up to turn 12, and I'm like, okay, it's a big hill. I'm not scared. This is nothing. The car in front of me disappears over the hill. No big deal. Okay, so it's a little steep. I'm not worried about it. I get to the top of the hill, and there's no road. You can't. It's not a blind hill. There's nothing. It's a cliff.
It's the stair to heaven.
It's the stair to, and I had the same sinking feeling I get on roller coasters, where you're at the tippy top. You know you're about to go down, but there's nothing you could do to stop it. I'm going like 40 miles an hour, Danny, and the car rotates and starts heading downhill, and I still don't see the ground. And I out loud, I was sitting by myself in my car. I go, oh shit. As I point straight down to the earth, I'm going slower than I drive through my neighborhood, Danny. I'm not even doing it. And I point down and I still don't see the ground. I still don't see where I'm supposed to go. I finally catch the car in front of me as he's, off into the ditch or whatever. It was off to the right. And I never have been that scared on a track in my life, especially going that slow.
I'll tell you, this year's MX5 Cup Miata race at Road Atlanta, right? Mm-hmm. They were 3 wide going down the hill, and then they finished 4 wide.
I don't like that at all.
The finish 3 wide down, like they're like 3 cars nosedive, and the other 2 cars were on their tails. Just 5 cars kind of jammed together, and they sliding right down there.
How?
It was the most exciting finish ever.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's why I have special, now I'm a Connor Zilic fan now. It's amazing. I'm telling you, you got to watch those guys. They're nuts.
It was not that. I mean, we finally, we started going faster, right?
Yeah.
And by the end of the whole day, after doing it, dozens of times, I still wasn't comfortable. It's such a horrific drop. It really is.
Yeah.
Pictures don't do it justice. Videos don't do it justice. YouTube doesn't do it justice. You have to experience it. Yeah. You have to experience that feeling.
The scariest one I have is at that place was a turn 4 in the S's. When you disappear and go down that hill, it's hard to see the turn in. So you got to stay on the left-hand side. And then if you don't do that, you jam it in there, and then you can loop in the S's. Mm-hmm. Turn 1 actually seems easy, but I've seen people go off turn 1. I've seen people go on turn 3. I've seen people go everywhere. Let's say.
So you could go off anywhere.
Yes,
but it never feels scary. It's like, I need to nail this so I don't spin. I need to nail this so I don't go off. That turn 12 though is just like, oh my God, where am I?
Well, I mean, at the top you don't see anything, right? Even at the top you don't see anything. You have to kind of go over to the downhill. Then you can spot where your apex to be. So typically there are 3 flags on top. Right, the three square block flags on top.
Yeah.
So what I was told was you drive towards the outside, the far left, the left flag, and then go underneath it, and then while you're turning in, right.
I was going under the middle flag.
It's the left, or the left between the left and the middle, and that's the spot to enter. And then with a little bit of action, turning to the right, and then you can basically drive down to the apex and turn in. Anyway, so that's Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right. let's talk about the second place. That's Atlanta Motorsports Park. And that is a beautiful place. It's a total surprise.
What a facility.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was going to be so gorgeous, so well kept. It brought a smile to my face. And I loved the track. Danny, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was like it had hints of Shenandoah in terms of like an autocrosser's heaven, kind of, but it's still a fast track. You're still flying across the finish.
I don't even know how to say it. It's if you love autocross, right? That is your place.
Yep. There you go. Exactly.
And then the group that we ran with is a group called J-Zilla, right? Man, that's a fun group that's an excellent group of people. I mean, I can't say anything enough about how good those guys are, and agreed. To make you feel welcome and rah. It was a very relaxing, fun, very well organized event. And then, of course, I'm always happy when they feed us.
Yep.
I'll tell you the taco truck. My God, that is the most amazing. Not just truck food. I mean, any food.
Yep.
Right. I mean, their beef taco. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say. You know,
it was so good.
Yeah. Their nachos. I mean, best chip ever. I mean, I'm telling you, it's too bad I didn't grab their business card, but that's the best. That's the best Mexican food.
Even if you do grab their business card, they're like hundreds of miles away. You know that, right?
I'll go down there just for that food, man. It's so good.
Oh, I mean, it really was that good.
No, that was a fantastic day, but racing wise, it wasn't so great because Ada kicked our butts. I finished flat out last, DFL for both morning and afternoon. He killed us.
Oh, it was a fun one. Can we go back? You just gave J-Zilla a shout out. I would like to give Charlie at J-Zilla a shout out. He made the day the perfect day. And then the other two events were run by Chin, and there was a guy named Austin, and there was a guy named Mark, and those two guys really went out of their way to help us and make us feel welcome and have a great time there too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw a couple of names in there.
Yeah, I've been running with Chen for a couple, maybe 4 or 5 years now. I'm in their intermediate. Yeah, and then the interesting thing is in their intermediate are like GT3 RSs and
I just rocket ships, right?
And then like a GT4 Cup, Club Sport or something like that. So, but it's fun. I mean, at Sebring, their speeds were significantly faster. Road Atlanta, there are a lot of veterans there. The Barber wasn't in our group. Like the really, really fast guys weren't there. Maybe with just one or two. So so I get to play a little bit more with the rest of the cars at Barber a little bit more. But I was definitely intimidated. At Road Atlanta, it was like lots of point buys. Yeah. Okay. So, and again, Atlanta Motorsports Park, fantastic place.
Yeah.
Love it. If you get a chance to go, definitely go. And then we go to Motorsports Heaven. I mean, we went to Barber, which is one place that I definitely want to drive. So I drove as much as I possibly can at Barber. Yeah.
That track flowed. It's such a beautiful track to drive. I'm still shocked. I'm shocked at everything about Barber, how it looks, how it feels, how it smells. That place is gorgeous. And the track it's like a chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So one thing that was totally interesting was my fastest miles per hour I got to at Barber was actually slower than Atlanta Motorsports Park. I don't know how that happened for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Because we're flying out of, 16, I think, at Atlanta Motorsports Park?
Yeah.
Into the straight. You're just flying. You're going so fast out of that final turn. That has to be the only reason.
Yeah. But Barber, oh my God, it's just got that combination of high speed, a little bit slower, a lot of gutsy moves, and it's oh my God, it's the chicane. You got to attack the chicane, and after the chicane, you have to attack the entries on the downhill left. And then it's got all kinds of stuff in Barber, and plus, there's all kinds of interesting, weird sculptures everywhere, right?
Oh, the artwork is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, except for those spiders, they're scary. I didn't.
And then and of course they had the woman sitting in a lake, and then I think Georgina, which is the the person that fell off the women that fell off the bridge, during the Indy race. Yeah.
That's
so yeah, I'll tell you. So Alan, Ada ended up leaving a little bit. You ended up leaving a little bit earlier.
Yes, I was tired.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't know how you and Alan have.
Alan and I hang out until the very last second. So we ran the happy hour in there. Nice. Last time I went there, I didn't get a chance to drive. I went with my friend Brian Highcotter, ran one lab, and that was one spot that oh man, I was so envious. I want to run it, right? But he was so fast there. And then the interesting part was his first run, standing start in the morning where it's all cold and everything. Mm-hmm. He ran a faster time in the standing start than my fastest time all weekend.
Wow.
Man, he's a professional race car driver. I'm nobody.
Right.
So it makes a lot of difference. But boy, that was an awesome track. And I highly recommend that one too. If you want to go, make sure that make that into your bucket list track. Track bucket list. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad we ran. We had a great time.
Yep.
I now I don't understand what Buc-ee's is.
Oh my God. I love that place. I didn't understand what the hype was about.
Yeah.
Until I stepped inside one.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Also, did you never told me about like the prices? Forget like just it's amazing. The prices blew me away. How are they making money?
Extra large Diet Coke, right? I mean, I'm not sure if you guys remember this. I mean, when I first started autocrossing, I remember you can go to a 7-Eleven and get a big gulp for 99 cents.
Sure, I remember that. Yeah.
Right. And then you have the big, what's the next size of a big gulp? Was it like large big gulp or a giant big gulp or
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about. There was some outrageous size.
I mean, there's big gulp.
Yeah.
There's big gulp like this, right? Yeah. And then there's another big gulp like that, and there's like the super extra.
And then there's like the outrageous one where you need two hands to hold it.
Yeah. Right. The biggest one. I think the second biggest one is Buc-ee's extra large drink, right?
Yeah.
They are $1.09 even today.
That's crazy.
I mean, where do you find that?
Nowhere. And don't forget about the gas, Danny. $3 a gallon for 93.
I think the cheapest I saw when I first got there the first night was $3.54 for 93.
That doesn't make sense.
I mean,
that's cheaper than our lowest gas.
Yeah. And then another shout out to Barber's gas. You got gas from Barber, right?
I did. Oh yeah,
it was
I did.
$4.19 or something for 93.
It was $4.19 for 93
in the track.
At the track.
Yeah,
and then can you see this picture? I don't know if you can see the picture here.
No, not yet. No, it's hard to see. There we go. Here's you can see it now.
In the picture,
yeah,
you can see 87 for $2.99. It's unbelievable. $2 for gas.
I know. I mean, I don't know why we don't have Buc-ee's everywhere.
I don't know how they're making this much money if they're giving away stuff.
Yeah. I bought one of those a donut thing that you can sleep on the flight.
Yeah, it's called neck pillow.
Yeah, I forgot how much it was. It was like $9.98.
It was like $9, but it was the nicest memory foam.
Yeah, it's a memory foam one too.
Pillow I've ever touched. Yeah, and I was like, how is that $9?
Yeah, with like 25 Buc-ee's on a
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the best.
No, I'll tell you, it's great. And then, so all I had there was the beef burrito, which is better than any chicken that there is, except that, I don't know if my wife liked that. Now I'm home with all the burritos I ate, but that's beside the story.
I'm waiting for Stuart to ask Uncle Danny what's the best beef burrito from
Buc-ee's. All right. So we bonsai all the way home. That left us yesterday. Instead, Alan and I got a little bit smarter. Now, like we hang out and we went to Olive Garden.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I had their sausage soup, which is fantastic.
Oh,
but I was completely envious when Alan was eating his lasagna. That looked a lot better than my my seafood fettuccine, 100%.
Okay.
I kept on looking at Alan eating. I kept on wanting to eat his food.
Nice.
So we left at 5:45 in the morning, and I want to close this episode with this. Alan and I were sitting over here discussing which direction we should go, right? So I drive to Gaithersburg. For him, he drives to Waldorf. So he looked at his map and say, if he goes through Atlanta, it's 2 minutes faster.
No, it's not.
Than going through Knoxville.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
So I went through Knoxville.
Yes,
right?
we go through Knoxville from Barber to anywhere.
So this is the beauty of it. I drove up. I left Barber, right? Hampton Inn across the street from Barber. I stopped at Buc-ee's. I got a breakfast burrito, and then Alan actually took off because he didn't have to get gas, so he left. Right. So I had the Buc-ee's stay, and I got some gas. Then I stopped by 16 different places to go to the bathroom. Right. Every rest stop in every state. Right?
Oh my God.
I went through that. Plus, I went to another Buc-ee's to get another beef burrito. And
I know which Buc-ee's you went to.
Yeah. I went to the Buc-ee's near Gatlinburg, right?
On the way, yes, it's the highway that shoots off towards Gatlinburg.
That's right. So then, so I also got another $1.09 giant.
I love it.
But this time I got the Buc-ee's Diet Cola. Yes,
they didn't have Diet Coke at that Buc-ee's
because your wife Sarah recommended it, so I got the Buc-ee's Diet Cola.
What did you think about it?
It's a Safeway Diet Cola.
Yeah, it's close. It's close, but it's not exact. But it's close.
It's not Pepsi. It's not Pepsi. It's not Coke. But it's a Safeway's.
You'll drink it when you're thirsty in the car.
Yes, no problem. I mean, it doesn't leave a bad taste in the mouth or anything. It's fine.
No.
Yeah. So then I drove. Then, I went up, I drove through, got to Bristol, for the SCCA autocrossers. I drove through Bristol the same way home, right? And then Bristol, Blacksburg, and then I drove up to 7 off 81. And it took me from Winchester near 7 all the way through Harper's Ferry, Charlestown, Harper's Ferry. And I just went home like the normal, how I go home from Summit Point. In fact, that newly opened Sheets, I actually drove right by it. So I go, oh, wait a minute, I'm at Summit Point, right? Yeah. So I went home, and then after I passed Blacksburg, I called Alan and I asked him where he is at.
Yeah.
Right.
Where was
he? I'm sorry. I was 20 miles away from Winchester. When I call him and ask him where he's at, he told me he's at Durham.
What?
Yes.
Is he not home yet?
He said he's going to get home at 9:30.
Shut up.
I got home at 6:40.
I got home at 5, but I left the day before you.
Yeah, and my house is further than Alan's.
Yes. Oh my God.
Right. And I stopped the bathroom 16 times plus 2 Buc-ee's. Right. And then of course I stopped by Sheets to get more gas. Right. So there's a Sheets at Knoxville, Maryland this time. Right. So
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, when you come home from Birmingham, go through Knoxville.
I mean, I don't understand why he went through Atlanta. Like, that's just not the move.
Anyway,
Alan.
And again, I apologize for being mean and loopy for our report. But tomorrow Alan has to turn in his forecast for this weekend so we can publish this. So expect some crazy weather forecast.
Oh my God! I can't wait.
Yep.
It's gonna be great.
All right. Okay. So it's getting late for us. We've been up for 18 hours already.
I'm dead. The whole weekend, I need to go to sleep.
But it was a fun time. So as you develop your, for newbies, as you develop your autocross, give track driving a try. Right. Just don't scare the HPD instructors. Don't tell me you're an autocrosser.
It does scare them because we full send.
Yeah, I know. Especially Ada, he's nuts.
I'm not nuts. Okay. Oh no. I'm not nuts.
Here's Ada. Here I come.
I broke a little late.
Yeah, just a little. Alrighty. Okay, so with that said, hopefully the next podcast we won't be this loopy or tired, and we'll go ahead and sign off now. So see you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Danny. I will. Yeah. I'll see you. I'll see you this weekend.
Yep.
Actually.
Yeah. More running. All right. Okay.
See ya.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.